GM, everyone, and welcome to another episode of FOMO Hour. Today is Friday, October 3rd, 2025, and oh my, what a week it has been. We are closing one of the best weeks in crypto in months. Majors are up 10 to 20%, showing no signs of slowing down. Targets are being raised in real time, and today we're asking, how high are those targets, and are we going to meet them? We're going to break it all down on today's show. No Farouk or Mando in the house just yet. They will be back next week, but I've got Logan in the house to round out the week with me here today. Fresh off that Cubs big win yesterday. Logie, GM, how you feeling?
Hey, good morning. I'm feeling great. Yes, of course, a very stressful yesterday.
It was.
I should say alleviated a bit with the crypto prices, of course, giving us a good backdrop, win or lose. But a particularly stressful ninth inning for the Cubs. Made it way through. Get at least another 3 games for the Cubs season. So I'm feeling pretty good.
Let's chat about it quickly, as this has become a hybrid crypto / sports show during the Cubs playoffs here. So I was watching this game. I haven't watched the other two, but this one was at a better time. That 4 o'clock time saw a little bit easier. So what the Cubs, was it the second inning, bottom of the second?
Yeah.
Bases loaded, no outs. I think they get 2 runs with 0 outs.
Yeah.
And it looks like this is the time to pour it on. And then they kind of fell short. And that did feel a little rough in the moment.
It was kind of the story of the game. They really swung it really well yesterday, and they left runners on in scoring position basically the entire day and never put the Padres away. And that's what led to that dramatic ninth inning is, you bring the go-ahead run to the plate on account of not kind of just putting your foot on their throat. So yeah, big sigh of relief. I needed a small bourbon pour to get through that game yesterday near the latter innings.
Yeah. So let's get into it. They're up 3-0 headed into the top of the ninth.
Yep.
I like to check. I hadn't bet on this game. I like to check live odds just to see, like, okay, what are the odds Padres come back here? And at one point they were 24-1. I checked Polymarket, it was at 3 cents. So 30 to 1. So Cubs were literally 99 cents. So this game feels over. Padres hit a bomb. It's 3-1. Then they get 2 guys on base. I thought the Cubs pitcher, I don't know his name. He hit 2 players. I thought, is this guy trying to lose the game on purpose? I literally never seen anything like that. The ball that hit the ground and then hit the guy, like, just absurd. For a playoff game, for those stakes, seemed like an absurd thing to happen. And then if you were following the betting markets, Padres got to 5.5 to 1. So they were 24-1 going into the top of the ninth, and then they were 5.5 to 1. So it was a very non-zero chance that they had a shot. And even the final out. Yeah. I mean, he just barely lifted it, right?
Yeah.
So it was quite the sweat. I called it squeaky one time.
Yeah.
But we are moving on.
Moving on. I'm getting stressed just talking about it, so we should also move on here. Get to something a little bit lighter for myself.
Yeah, let's lower Logan's heart rate here and talk about what are we actually getting into on today's show. We got a lot to talk about. We're going to start the market report, going through majors, some Trump stimmies might be incoming, talking stocks, ETFs, some new Bitcoin targets from some of the biggest banks. BNB season, folks, it looks like it is out in full force. New all-time highs on BNB, Pancake Swap, number 1 mover, and some meme action as well. We got a new AVAX Treasury Co. in the works. Those keep coming. I want to talk Doublezero a little bit. Doublezero has launched. It's been on your timeline. I haven't seen a ton of people talking about it. We'll get into that. Polymarket Tokenisation 2025, way down. What happened? Talking about that. CME 24/7 markets. And then this Art Block security drop. We got to talk about it a little bit. This is going to be a big one and a big end to their chapter, 4-year chapter. Maybe over 5 years, maybe 4.5 years. We will get into it on the show. Plus a lot more. Oh, and Yeet. We are back, folks. We haven't done them all week. Yeet giveaways are back. We're going to do 2 at the end of the show. Enter the code, Yeet code number go up. Thank you for that, producer Charlie. And we'll be giving out $500 to 2 lucky winners at the end of today's show. We won't be playing any Yeet. This is just a straight cash giveaway. We'll spin the wheel at the end and see who wins. So make sure you get in that code to participate. And then, let's hit some intro music and get into this.
For daily NFT and crypto analysis, on FOMO hour cause the kid can't miss.
Ready to patch some bears. Folks, another green day. We are really just grinding up all week. This has been just quite a beautiful and fun week to be in the crypto market. So Bitcoin smashed through 120K. That was a headline story of yesterday. We're sitting at 120,400 right now, up 1% on the day, but up a solid 10% on the week. So we have just straight up since last Friday's lows. ETH up 1%, outperforming a bit, 44.66. BNB, the story of the day, up 7%, 11.30. Wow. $157 billion market cap, well above Solana here, 20% above, and at a new all-time high. We'll get into more of the BNB action here in a bit. Solana up 1%, 229. It's up 16% on the week. So it's not just a Bitcoin rally. I feel like I'm seeing a little bit of, Bitcoin's leading the way. Bitcoin dominance is going to go back up. It is up a bit off the bottom from September. But on the week, the other majors are outperforming. So it's not just Bitcoin moving in this leg up. So I think you like to see that. From a stocks, it looks like stocks are green, maybe a little bit even so far here this morning. Not a ton of action. There was some economic data, but one of the impacts of the government shutdown is we are not getting the ongoing, semi-weekly economic data updates. And there's even talk of what will that mean for FOMC. The markets are pricing a 90% chance of a cut. So right now, in the absence of data, they are going to be forced to cut effectively. At least that's what the markets think, which is another tailwind for some of our crypto majors. The other macro story is not news yet, but it is speculation. Trump considering taxpayer rebates of $1,000 to $2,000 using tariff money. We know what happened the last time that the government gave out these stimmies.
I love the rebates terminology.
Yeah, we'll call it whatever you want. But I think folks would be quite happy to receive $1,000 or $2,000 back. So that could be a stimulus on the horizon. We've got the rate cuts coming. I think Polymarket's got it at, let's find this rate cut. October. I was seeing 90% yesterday. Fed decision in October. Yeah, 90% chance at a 25 bips decrease. And this is up pretty substantially. In mid-September, it was 67%. So this is about the highest it has been. So the market is pretty confident we are going to get a cut in the October FOMC meeting. That coming October 29th. So still a decent room to run until then, which is pretty nice. Other than the majors, see what else is moving. I said it in the intro. It's BNB season, folks. Pancake swap. The swap place on BNB up 30%, $3.50, 1.5 billion FTV. Big move. Aster is up 8%, and then BNB up 7%. So 3 of the top 5 movers are BNB Eco, and their memes had quite the day as well. Driving the Bitcoin price action, we've been talking about, but these ETFs just continue. We're now at 2.25 billion in net inflows for the Bitcoin ETFs in 4 days this week. So that's pretty substantial numbers. On the ETH side, still pretty good as well, just over $1 billion. So ETH inflows have been quite strong as well. And now some of the banks are coming out with some big targets. So Logan, I'm just going to go through 3 of these with you. We're going to go through Standard Chartered. We're going to go through JP Morgan and Citi's targets. And I want to get your thoughts. Standard Chartered, the big dog coming out swinging 135K next week. Agree, disagree?
Next week, by next week. I'm going to disagree by next week. I like our chances of being higher than 120.2 or whatever we're at right at this exact moment. But I still feel like it's going to be this more gradual incline, not the
feel like the others,
not the like swift $10,000 candle or whatever. So I don't think by next week. No, I hope I'm wrong, but I would say no to next week.
Interesting. Maybe consider believing in something for once, Logie. I kid. I appreciate your take. 135 is a stretch, right? That is what, 12% move, 11, 12%. it feels so high, maybe because it's 10K above our previous all-time high. But we're up 10% in the past week. Another 10%, and we're there. If we do another 10% in the next week, we're effectively at 135. And I do think if we clear all-time high, folks are going to pile in. It's going to be a pretty clear signal.
Yeah.
So I'm taking the S side. I agree. Standard Chartered and Tyler D aligned. 135K next week.
I hope you're both right. I think the thing I'm really struggling with most, Tyler, is we just like I'm struggling to remember what it feels like or what it felt like prior to that explosive move. And it's difficult to not characterize the last year as an explosive move in Bitcoin because it more than doubled. Like obviously that was a explosion in price, but that like absurdity candle, that folks are hoping for or may remember from previous cycles when just the cost was a lot lower. Yeah. I just don't remember it well enough, and I'm struggling to feel its place in our current cycle. I just think things are going to be a little more gradual. I hope I'm wrong, but that's why I'm kind of feeling the way I am.
Which is recency bias, because that is what has happened, right?
Yeah.
For so long, right? We've effectively been going sideways since July. So 3 months of sideways chop. Before that, we effectively had gone sideways from May. And you could even argue from December when we first got to 100K was basically sideways till we first leveled up to 120. And even then wasn't much of a breakout. I'm trying to think, what are some of the breakout candles? So 420, 85K. That's only a 10% move. So we went 10% back in April. That was coming off of the tariff bomb. We probably have to go into last year to really see. So November 5th, 69K. November 11th, 88. So that's 30% in a week. Those are explosive candles. Right?
Yeah.
Those count as God candles right there. So 30% in a week. It happened last year.
Yeah, but that was that was the headline, right? That was the Trump presidency headline. That was the, full on embrace, it can't get better type headline.
So you don't think there's any headlines on the table that could be better than Trump being elected president?
In the next week?
Devil's advocate. Yeah, the next week.
No, I don't in the next week.
Probably fair. You're probably right. I'm being a little bit of a moon boy.
I want to be a moon boy, man. And the more time I spend with you on this show, I think it inches me closer to it. But at the same time, I just am clinging to not getting my hopes up too much. But I am still optimistic. We've both, I think, been quite effusive in our optimism throughout the course of this last week, and we've been paid off kindly thus far. So
the hopium cases that could do this, right? So you have strategic Bitcoin reserve from the government. We're not going to get that the next week. But that is the kind of announcement that could lead to 30% in a week. No capital gain tax on Bitcoin. Again, I don't think that's coming the next week, but that is one that could potentially do it. And then the wild card is Saylor. He's got this new tax money back. He effectively got a rebate. And then Stretch, STRC, if it hits 100, Udi's banging the drum that it hits 100, he's going to start unloading. It gives him full access to this capital to start buying Bitcoin in bigger size again. That's probably not enough for a 30% move. That is another potential catalyst. It has been struggling to get to 100. It hit 99.30 this morning. So it's as close as it has been effectively. So that is something to watch. But yeah, 135K, maybe a stretch. It's a long shot for sure. I mean, it's probably 5-1 or something to actually hit. Maybe a little less than that. Maybe 3-1. But I would take it at those odds. I would not take it at even odds. Let's go to the next one. What do I have here? Standard Chartered. We've got, JP Morgan. So a bit to unpack from the JP Morgan target. So they've also somewhat updated their thesis here, and that they're kind of calling Bitcoin the debasement trade now. I guess I don't have it in this tweet. I'll have to go pull up the tweet that actually says that. But they're kind of calling gold the inflation hedge and Bitcoin the currency debasement trade, which I hadn't really seen those terms specifically. And their core thesis here, they're calling for Bitcoin upside to 165K, effectively in a catch-up trade to gold. So they're looking at how much gold has run up this year, some volatility ratios, market cap ratios, and saying that effectively Bitcoin has a 40% move to catch up, which is an anecdote, or is in other words, kind of the argument that we've been making a bit this week, right? We're just taking a look at the gold chart, only market cap adjusted basis. But now it's not just a couple of talking heads on FOMO hour. It's JP Morgan.
Yeah. I think, this is the narrative that we've embraced for quite some time, even, prior to this week, right? I think most of crypto, as it foresees Bitcoin's future, it's been in comparison to gold in some way, shape, or form. What you need that narrative to be strengthened and validated by the people who are managing and or talking to the people that are managing the big money outside of our bubble. So that's encouraging, I would say. If the narrative is going to shift and there's that full embracement to digital gold or something akin to that, then let's go. I mean, 165 in that sense. If everybody's on board with that, 165 feels probably low. Yeah.
I want to read this here. So this is from the JP Morgan analyst report. The bank defines it as a trade that, I quote, reflects a combination of factors, which in our client conversations range from elevated geopolitical and policy uncertainty to uncertainty about the longer-term inflation backdrop to concerns about debt debasement due to persistently high government deficits across major economies to concerns about Fed independence to waning confidence in fiat in certain emerging markets in particular, and a broader diversification away from the US dollar. I mean, these are the core theses that CT, that thought leaders on CT have been pounding the table on. So we mock CT a lot, we joke about it, but you have heard these themes in conversations. We've talked about them on this show for months now, and they are being reflected, right, from some of the biggest banks in the world now.
Yeah.
So there's something to it, I guess.
Yeah. There's a little bit of a hate trade here too. Like if you're the person that's here every day and you're seeing these these narratives being spouted by people on CT, can you really sit by and not participate and then wake up in 5 years and have them be right? How horrible would that be? That's the whole, I don't know, I can't remember who exactly tweeted it, but the you're under capitalized to the industry you log into every single day tweet, you know what I mean? That would be very, very painful to wake up, in 5 years and have all these things be so true. It's, I ebb and flow on that line a lot. I think that's pretty typical of people who are here every single day. But like I was reading one of the articles about the Trump stimulus check thing. The national debt is 38 trillion or some shit, and it goes up by like $1 trillion every day. Those aren't actual.
It's just a fake number at this point. It's just like a meaningless number.
Right. I'm being hyperbolic, of course. I mean, I think it is around 38 trillion.
I think that's probably right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in terms of the growth daily, but like you're never coming out of that. Who are we kidding?
We're going to grow our way out of it. That's what our buddy Scott Besson wants us to do. We're going to outgrow that. We're going to outgrow the debt.
Okay.
So that is the current plan. That's really the only way, right? Is you inflate away the currency and you continue to outgrow it. Like there are no other real alternatives.
That's what I mean. I mean, like at some point, everybody's coming to. That's sort of what I'm feeling from this JP Morgan thing. Is there's no other path here. So
165K. You said that you would agree, and perhaps maybe it's even low based on some of their core theses. I would as well. So that's roughly a 40% move, maybe a little bit less. Like what other single asset would you bet on to go up 40% this quarter? Like that's where that's where I like Bitcoin from like a larger portfolio investment standpoint, because I can't pick a single stock that I think would go up 40% this quarter. Like Robinhood just did it coming out of the S&P, so maybe you look for spots like that, but I wouldn't pick Robinhood to do it now after this 40% move in the past month. The S&P is not going up 40%. I don't think the Mag 7 is going up 40% this quarter. I mean, that would be a crazy move.
Yeah.
But here we have analysts saying Bitcoin could do it.
Is it still like it's like 1/10 of gold? Is that right? I know it fluctuates a little bit. I'm gonna struggle finding the site that has the market cap of thing. But I mean, it does feel like there's a gap, especially as the drum beating narrative of Bitcoin being digital gold, or a proxy for gold in some way, shape, or form. Yeah, great site here. As that crescendos, you don't often get a chance to say crescendo, so I wanted to use that. As that narrative crescendos, though, this gap has to shrink, in my opinion, because the people start to look towards, just like we do here, right? You start to look down the curve a little bit for a bigger multiplier. And it's different than going from buying Bitcoin to buying a meme coin, but it's still multiples, 10x, almost 11x away if you feel this gap is shrinking. And I think, we're in that camp. And I would suspect if JP Morgan is starting to say, hey, here's the catch up, more people are going to start thinking about there being a catch up there. Then Bitcoin, can certainly go up 40% and close this gap.
It's clear that the East is leaning into gold. China, India, they're driving the price up. They're getting away from the US dollar. They're buying other hard assets, primarily gold. It feels like to me, I said this earlier in the week, that it could very well be in the US best interest to be allocated to Bitcoin as a gold. Hedge is the wrong word, but kind of as a different currency. So you have potential US interests in Bitcoin going up and crypto going up overall with USDC and Tether and US treasuries tied into all that. That's a core component of the thesis. And then you also have money changing hands from generations, from boomers to lower generations or to younger generations. And I think they're more likely to invest in digital assets than gold. That's my gut read.
I'm sorry, Tyler. One of the things that I've been trying to think about, and I've done a really poor job at blocking away time to think more deeply about it, is like, what's the case for not buying gold or like a gold-like asset, Bitcoin? Is it, I don't know, is it because you're literally thinking of opportunity cost? Like, why would these assets not be higher in the future? Like, that's the thing that I'm struggling to understand.
Well, for gold specifically, it's not finite, right? So we could always find more.
Sure.
And that is an overhang to gold, but clearly it hasn't really stopped the market. But I think, to your point, I generally agree. Like, I think all of these assets are going to continue to grind up. You're basically just you're spending time trying to figure out which ones will outpace others for the most part. But enough talk about Bitcoin versus gold. Final target, Citibank, 12-month price targets for digital assets. Their base case for Bitcoin, 181K. This is 12 months. This is not the end of the year. Bull case, 231. Their base case for ETH, 5,400. 7,300 for their bull case. So we have some ETH action in here. Curious for your take on these.
I think these are totally fair as well, for all the reasons I just described. As you continue to feel that narrative get stronger and stronger, these aren't outlandish targets to me. I think they fit within a range that has been shared by lots and lots of smart people, lots of people and firms who have done tons and tons of analysis and are much, much smarter than I am. So I think these are fair. What's surprising to me actually about this particular forecast is that ETH bull number only being 7.3K.
It's not that outlandish, yeah.
Yeah, which I mean is less than a 2x from here. It's crazy. That feels kind of like, if your bull case is less than a 2x from here, I mean, I feel kind of bad about that. But we'll see. I don't know.
So what's the ratio here? This is over 30-1.
I mean, I feel like if Bitcoin's at 231K and ETH isn't at like 8.5, like something like that, like I don't know, it just makes me feel a little squirmy. And I don't have a ton of ETH exposure. I'm far more allocated to Bitcoin, so like in that scenario, it doesn't personally impact me too much. But I would feel a little squirmy for Ethereum holders at that point in time.
I don't think anyone's gonna be too upset if we're at these targets 1 year from today. So we can close it at that. We like Citi's price targets here as well. Let's talk about BNB season. So I went into BNB earlier on. Let's just pull up the chart. I mean, this is insane. The 1 year chart, wow. So it is up 110% now on the year, but the bulk of that move has happened since the end of June. So like that's what makes this so explosive. So it was $630 a token back on June 21st. Now BNB sitting at 1130. On the month, it's up 32%. And man, look at this. This is just straight up. I mentioned Cake was the leading mover on the day. And that's because there is some serious action in the BNB meme street. So I don't know if you've had a chance to look at 4. First, I thought 4 was a meme, and then someone told me it's like the pump fun of BNB. I have not personally looked into this, so I don't know exactly what 4 is. It's clearly tied to the infamous CZ holding up 4 fingers meme. This is FUD, tied to his post back in the depths of the bear market. This is one of the wilder charts that we've seen across the meme sector. This thing launched on October 1st, September 30th, late night. It is effectively 3 days old. It is at 180 million. It's up 200% on the day. You could have bought it on October 2nd at 3 a.m. That was yesterday, about 28 hours ago, for 22 million.
Yeah, pretty good little day.
And then going through the list, that's 4. That's the number 1. There are several others. So this priceless meme is up 469%. Of course, it's just up a meme number. Up 469% at 27 million. This one is older, but has caught the move really here in the last couple days. Going down the list, there's more of these. This one meme up 660%. Pup, which I've been told is BNB upside down. Talk about innovative. That's a meme for you. That's up 70x at 6.9 million, so on and so forth. If you go down the list, you can see it. It's washed in green. Reactions to this? Do you think it has legs, and are you playing?
I played just before the show. I bought a little bit of the pup one. I didn't realize. So full disclosure, I did not realize exactly how easy it was to get money to BNB. Part laziness, part just never really feeling the need to participate. There haven't been these elongated BNB seasons. They are typically just like this 2 to 3 day spurt. Remember the Tron stuff, and there was BNB stuff late last year or maybe early this year. I don't even know, losing track of time. But I haven't seen at least in my personal experience, haven't seen like a prolonged season in which to participate. So I didn't really even realize how easy it was. So I swapped some stuff from Abstract over and bought just a tiny, tiny portion to feel aligned with BNB season. To answer your question though, about whether or not I feel it's true, I'm totally in limbo. I want to see more than 2 days. Like I said, I in my experience, they've been so short-lived. And maybe it's because I always come in late, like my timeline is just not built with the people who are participating there. And so I'm just catching the tail end. Perhaps that's what's happening here as well. But I'd like to see it stay front and center for a little bit longer to call it a season. I think the difference here compared to previous other times when I have considered participating is like this whole Aster and CZ bubble that's happening right now. Potential big airdrop coming there, people feeling very wealthy from the run up of late with Aster in particular. Does that actually infuse like this period of time in which things get really silly and funny alongside, and this is all happening alongside the BNB run up too? I think there is a recipe for a season happening. I'm not ready to say it is BNB season, but if we get like a week of activity, I could be convinced to flip that switch. I think the recipe is there though. The ingredients are getting into the pot. Whether or not we turn on the stove, I guess we'll wait and see.
Quick reactions to that. I think it's too early to call it BNB meme season. And BNB seasons of late, they have been pretty short-lived, right? As I remember across this year. But broader BNB season is absolutely 100% here. Like I just showed the BNB chart. It's up effectively 100% since July. Aster came out, debuted in 19x in the past 2 weeks. Cake is up. So there are plenty of opportunities. This Aster airdrop, I don't think enough people are really talking about. Maybe it's because we got Aster fatigue from how all over the timeline it was in that monster run. So the FTV is 15 billion. 4% of the tokens are allocated for season 2, which ends on October 5th. That is Sunday. It's literally ending in 2 days. And I think people knew that it was being farmed but maybe haven't really been doing that much and maybe didn't realize it was ending this soon. That's a $600 million airdrop. 4% of 15 billion is 600 million. And that might come as soon as next week. I don't think we know the details of how it will potentially work. My God. I'm not ready to call BNB season over if there's a $600 million stimulus coming to the BNB trenches on Monday. So I am cautiously optimistic is not the right word. I would say optimistic. And I have been farming Aster. There's a lot of ways you can do it. You can just do high volume in and out. They say they give you more points for holding positions longer. So I've been dabbling in with a bit of that. Of course, this is trading with leverage on Perp stack. So know the risks of that game. And it is a risky game, but I'm top 2,000. So not bad. Like certainly tons of people well above me. And it is competitive for some details. So I've done about 10 million volume in that this week. And that is about top 2,000. So 2,000 wallets have done more than 10 million volume to give you some perspective of what this farm looks like. So that's not going to be for everyone. Certainly understood. I think these memes probably keep going. I pulled up the tweet. The other aspect here is CZ is clearly leaning in. I feel like more than he has been. And like, he always does pop in randomly. Kind of randomly popped in for the Aster tout, right? Which is what sent Aster up so much. But since then, it seems like he has been plugged in, right? I mean, he's joining shill and villain spaces to talk about Aster. And now he's talking about 2 innovative memes. With a very fancy double negative here. I don't know if folks caught this. No, I did not buy any.
I did not catch that.
No.
Yeah, he's a very smart guy.
I'm not sure this was an accident.
That's great.
So he's saying he's buying.
That's fantastic. I need to see more of this because you recall that like previous, I think the last pocket in which we talked about this was his dog thing when he had adopted that dog.
Exactly.
Was that this summer? It must have been this summer, right? Or maybe
longer than that, I think.
Whatever. I mean, it's so long, but he was here for like 2 days ish talking about broccoli. There are like 13 different broccoli tokens, right? That went from 0 to 100 million or some shit. Your 2 C's.
I'm misspelling broccoli here. All right.
CZ's dog.
7 months old.
Wow. Okay. Gosh, man. Still a $33 million market cap is kind of wild.
So
yeah, but I mean, look at that initial run up. It's just, but that's it. I mean, that period of time, if you zoomed in on that February, it was probably like 3 days or something. Yeah. And that's the extent to which it's lasted on my timeline as well. Typically, when these little pockets of time and little seasons pop up, you got to give me more than 3 days if you want me to, capitulate into participation. And I feel like maybe there's a lot of people feeling that exact same thing, that, there's always been this sort of divide. I think a very real divide between, Eastern-based users, Western-based users, as far as the chains they're participating on every single day more actively. You got to give them more than 3 days to feel the FOMO and capitulate in and be like, okay, now I'm ready to participate. So maybe we'll get that because, BNB has been at the top of headlines, for more than 3, as you've noted here. This has not been a short BNB season. As far as memes go, though, I don't know how many people are really feeling too much FOMO just yet and feeling like they need to participate. I have not. I mean, I did only because I found some like literally like $150 worth of ETH that I just had sitting somewhere, and I was like, you know what, I'll chuck it in. Maybe we get the 1000x whatever. Who knows, right? I'm not calling that, but I need to see before I would commit anything else. I would need to see a little more of a runway.
Yeah, very fair. And this broccoli meme did like it basically peaked at 120. Like, yeah, it worked higher than that, but the highest it really got consistently was like 120. It was over within about 3 or 4 days. But this was also coming out of this was post-Trump, post-Libra. Like we were going very quick. We were spiraling down the roller coaster loops very quickly.
And CZ sort of backed out of this one too, right? Didn't he sort of he backwards
It was
stepped
so messy, right?
himself?
'Cause everyone, they launched like 300 of them, right? So
Right.
it got very messy.
So if we're in this little bucket where he's going to continue to share even fun little pokes because people are getting excited, because people are making money, um, I'm not necessarily encouraging him to do that. It's probably good for BNB bags if he does. But if he does keep doing it, that is gonna keep the FOMO meter high. That's gonna keep people participating. That would be the signal for an extended trench season. And I think there's probably a whole lot more going on here beyond these couple memes that we're seeing that we just don't even know about. I remember, not to aside us too much, but when I spoke with, there's a BNB treasury company. I don't know if you remember that. I actually was looking at the stock right before the show just to prepare. It's down, which a little surprising given this crazy run.
Good call.
Yeah, but I spoke with the CEO of that, and he was just talking. This was months ago at this point. He's telling me that there's a very clear information and educational divide between the East and the West, and people in Western capital markets that don't even know what's going on, don't understand BNB. And I think that's so true. I have absolutely no clue what's going on here, but I'm sure there are lots of people making lots of money downstream that we just have, absolutely no insight into.
There's a lot going on. We talked about memes. If you don't like to play memes, but you do also acknowledge their existence and potential season, then PancakeSwap is an interesting play. I'm showing the chart. It is up basically 50% on the month. A bulk of that move has happened in the last few days. It's still only the 77th biggest crypto token, so it feels like it does have maybe some room to run. I don't hold any, so nothing to disclose here. Chart looks all right. So I mean, clearly down significantly from its original all-time highs, but clearly some folks kind of moving to the picks and shovels play there as well.
I need to correct myself. CEA industry stock is up today. Sorry, it's up 3% today. But over the course of the last month, it's down 55%. And that's
which is terrible with BNB up 32%. So that is an exact example of where a DAT has gone horribly wrong compared to the underlying. So that is a terrible, terrible outcome. Hopefully none of our listeners were plugged into CA Industries. Let's keep moving forward through the headlines. We got about 20 minutes left in the show. Speaking of DATs, there is another AVAX DAT coming. Pretty big dollar sign on this one. So Avalanche Treasury Co., very innovative name for an AVAX DAT, is forming up a SPAC, $675 million. They're merging with Mountain Lake Acquisition Corp., targeting NASDAQ listing in Q1 2026. The way this is going to work, it looks like they're coming out with $200 million up front to buy AVAX, but they're buying discounted AVAX from the AVAX Foundation. So this is not market buying AVAX. But where this does potentially get interesting is their goal is to amass $1 billion in AVAX over time. So as I read through this, I think they are looking to try to purchase. Yeah, here it is. They want to accumulate over $1 billion worth of AVAX following the IPO. So up front, they're just buying the discounted locked AVAX from the AVAX Foundation. There is some optimism in the future that they would go perhaps market buy more. It does not mean by any means they actually will get to $1 billion, but they have plans to. And now there's 3 AVAX stats from the past month or so, and with some pretty big dollar signs, and all the ones buying from the foundation, you have to asterisk. It does remove sell pressure from the foundation. I mean, you have to assume that at some point they were going to sell those tokens, and now they're effectively selling them. Someone else, perhaps that relieves sell pressure. And then some of the capital will be hitting the open market. And just on the market cap adjusted basis, AVAX is a $22 billion asset. Sol is 140, so it's 1/7. So $1 billion in buy pressure for AVAX is $7 billion for Sol, which is $28 billion for ETH, right? Just to give you some perspective. So $1 billion is a big number, I guess is what I'm saying. And they're kind of lining them up for AVAX. So any impact, any reactions on your side?
Only reaction I'd say is that AVAX feels like a chain link type thing to me, where I think the network itself has done a fantastic job of making real impact with like real partnerships, real initiatives. Like I'm thinking about the California Department of Transportation type stuff, right? That it's never really been reflected in price. Whether or not it ever does, that I don't actually know. So I think it's something that you should continue to pay attention to. I'm kind of burned on this whole DAT stuff at this point in time. I feel like a lot of people are in that mode. I was just mentioning BNB is literally at an all-time high, and the DAT for that particular asset, which I don't know that there are too many, but BNC is, the ticker is BNC, but CEA Industries is down. And it's like, why am I buying this treasury firm? I'm probably not, right? Definitely not.
Trade is a bit tired. So I'm sure we'll talk about that more on Underexposed in more depth next week. I know my co-hosts there have a lot to say. I want to keep pushing this forward. I want to make sure we have time to talk about Doublezero. Logie, I asked you to look into Doublezero. I saw some very high-level tweets. I have not spent a whole lot of time digging in on this. As I understand it, they effectively built a new internet for blockchains to communicate on. Give me the real story of this.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually like a pretty good way to describe it. And even the little snippet there up at the top, which indicates, kind of these brand new rails, this new network built to speed up how stuff operates. That's very much it. So Austin Federa, who's one of the co-founders there, worked at the Solana Foundation. He was on with Thread Guy yesterday. I watched a little bit of that. That's another, if you want a much, much deeper dive into Doublezero, which technically speaking, I'm going to be incapable of providing you. But more or less, the pitch is that all of the existing infrastructure for blockchains operates on the public internet, right? Like the internet that you and I are using in our homes, et cetera. And it's quite slow. And so if you think about how like high frequency trading, those big firms, they kind of create their own private lanes to be able to operate as fast as possible. And more or less what's happening here, based on my understanding of things, is that Doublezero is creating that new private lane for blockchain usage, right? That kind of private. So yeah, literally new internet for blockchain rails to get it up to speed with what it needs to be if we want things like Solana to be the home of financial markets, the best home for financial markets moving forward, right? So that's what its goal is. And I think, 22% of stake SOL already on that network and operating to try to be the new internet. I mean, it's like a difficult concept to grasp, that new internet approach, but I mean, that's what it's trying to create a new internet for blockchain networks, a much faster network for those to operate.
Super interesting. And you think that this would, on the surface, this would be something that crypto natives, that CT folks would be excited about, real innovation. Like we joked, like CZ was talking about innovative meme coins, right? And people laugh and they race to buy them. And then Doublezero creates a new internet for blockchains. And instead of talking about that, I'm seeing takes like this. The first time Doublezero really got on my timeline was people complaining about their tokenomics. And this is a pretty consensus opinion here that I'm sharing. And he goes into, I guess, a big chunk was given to Jump Crypto. 5% was unlocked at the beginning. Doublezero Foundation has unlocked 29%. So instead of focusing on what the product is, folks have immediately just gone to tokenomics and unlocks. And yeah, from a pure investment standpoint, off the jump, seeing these tokenomics does not make me want to necessarily pile in. But at the same time, I mean, God, if you want more confirmation that the token is the product, like these are the reactions. Right?
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate. But I heard Bread Guy, I believe it was Bread Guy on the Bodago show this morning, kind of talking about how CT is psyopsing themselves on this one and how Doublezero is a real unicorn. Doesn't really have any comps.
No, to my knowledge, there are no comps. I can't comment too much on the tokenomic stuff, but I do understand and can empathize with frustrations about that. If you truly believe they are horrible tokenomics, I don't have anything to say on whether they're good or bad. But I sort of understand that, right? Because if you want to participate, but the tokenomics are super bad, like it's just dissuades you from taking an immediate loss just to get inside. But all week we've been talking about what I keep using the word entrenchment or enmeshment or some bullshit like that. All week we've been talking about that. This is one of those pathways to getting like a picks and shovel infrastructure level participation in the growth of Solana in particular right now, but in the growth of blockchain networks worldwide. There aren't that many opportunities to do that, and feel comfortable in doing that. And so that's one of the reasons that I feel like this is a token that probably doesn't ever, outside of this event, doesn't ever really make too much noise in our timelines on a daily basis, because it's not a speculative play, really. It's not a sexy, like, headline play, probably. But then, you wake up and Solana's 10 times larger in 5 years. Oh, and all of the activity, all the validators are utilizing Doublezero to get this, more high speed, less dependent upon public internet infrastructure. And Doublezero's 10x alongside it. Not financial advice. Again, I don't know too much about the tokenomics. I'm not suggesting it is a good investment. I'm just suggesting that as far as infrastructure plays go, the thesis makes sense to me here.
I would agree. And I don't own any. I don't have anything to disclose here. I do think it's a very interesting project to watch. Do some of your own research on. And I'll admit I have not dug in not deeply enough to build a position in this. And I think it's also very fair to kind of let early token sellers come through, let the price, start to average out, find a level, for some trends before
they held a public coin list. You could have bought this via coin list, even US accredited investors back in April, I believe. I don't know what the price was. It wasn't listed when I was trying to find that out. I couldn't actually find the answer, but so this has been here. It's been lurking in the background. And I'm sure if you participated in that, a $1.8 billion market cap probably paid you off pretty well.
Yeah. I mean, in 5 billion FTV. So yeah, I would imagine those folks are up still fairly nicely. The other big news from yesterday, more in the NFT world, folks, Art Blocks curated. They announced Project 500. It's called Quine. I don't know exactly how to pronounce this. Quine. We'll go with Quine. It's from Larva Labs, creators of Autoglyphs and CryptoPunks. They are back to put the final chapter on a storied history from Art Blocks curated Eric Calderon, Snowfro, and generative art. I think who really kind of put generative art on the map. Wasn't the first generative art project by any means. I think Art Blocks is very fair to say gave much more broad exposure to generative art and really exploded the niche itself. The project Quine, it is a computer program that produces a copy of its own source code as its output. And so these will be interactive pieces. There's an example on the screen here. You can effectively have the code run, and then it will give you a different image output. Some details in the drop, 497. I think 477 will be available for sale. The release date is next week, Thursday, Friday, starting at 11 a.m. Central, 12 p.m. Eastern. I believe it starts at 0. So it is an auction. So I have not really dug into the details of this ranked auction with settlement. Bids are placed, ranked highest to lowest. Any outbid funds are returned. So we're going to see some high bids on this one for sure. Logie, any reactions? And then are you going for this one?
I'm priced out here. I already know I am. Wish I wasn't, but at least to maybe participate or at least have a shot at participating. I think this is a super awesome way to wrap up the curated collection. Larva Labs, there's not much needs to be said about Larva Labs. Autoglyphs, of course, I was just looking $392,000 floor for Autoglyphs at this point in time, around the same collection size. I think there's 512 glyphs, 497 of the Quines, and they look nice. I actually like it. It gives me that like a handmade quilt vibe. I don't know if that's necessarily exactly what it was going for, but that's kind of what it's giving me vibes of, which I like. I have no issue with some of these some of these outputs. I think this is just a great way to wrap it up. I'll be eager to see what the price will end up at. My guess is this is going to be like somewhere between like 7.5 to 10 ETH. That wouldn't shock me at all. The Larva Lab stamp is probably like 5 ETH. You know what I mean? But yeah.
This is my first time playing with it live, so you see how you generate different outputs. So this is all the same NFT. This source code, you keep generating it and you're getting new images off of it. It's interesting, right? I feel like there's always, it feels a little bit curated to a degree, like where the end user interaction is always a little bit tricky from a valuation standpoint. But I agree with you. Just the fact that Larva Labs is behind this is going to give it a decent floor. I've seen calls for 15 ETH already. That feels high out of the gate. Maybe I don't think the auction is going to go that high. Maybe it will. 5 ETH minimum. 10 ETH wouldn't surprise me. I'll try to pull up like what are the art blocks floors right now. I'll try to pull that up if you have additional thoughts while I do that.
Yeah, no, I think I'm right in line with you in terms of price. 15 wouldn't necessarily shock me. It does feel high out of the gate. But ultimately, I mean, this is Larva Labs. I mean, like, say what you want about the outputs. Of course, there's complexities in there that I'm sure like actual artists and coders will appreciate, that it's difficult for at least myself to sort of understand and appreciate like just how intricate the generative art is working here. But the Larva Lab stuff alone, plus just on a visual perspective, like the outputs look pretty nice to me. That stuff alone with the Larva Labs premium, 5 ETH minimum, in my opinion.
Seeing squiggles are 4.5, 4.6. Yeah, 4.5. With 10,000 supply. The OG Art Blocks curated projects. And of course, they'll forever have that value. They're from Snowfro as well. This is 1/20th the supply. There's no way it's going to be just 5 ETH. It's going to be much higher. I think 15 might actually be where it comes out. So Fidenzas are 35. You've got Squiggles at 5. Fidenzas are 35. I think that is a fair range. I don't think it's going to go higher than Fidenzas out of the gate. Maybe over time, but not out of the gate. So now I'm thinking 15, 20.
I don't know. We haven't seen any collective art pieces go that high in a long time. I know I'm anchored to some of the recency bias stuff, as we pointed out earlier, but geez, man, I don't know. 15 ETH right out of the gate.
If it's at 5 ETH, I would consider buying in the ranked auction. At 15, I'm probably just passing and waiting for a potential chance on the secondary. At 5, I think you are set up for a real 2 to 3x from a trading perspective. From an art and collecting perspective, totally different calculus behind that. I think there's a good chance it'll be a bottleneck for any full sets, and then it'll also have standalone value.
Do you think this could be? I mean, Matt and John are young guys that are iterating on stuff like all the time, I'm sure. But like, do you think this could be like their last collection? You know, it's a perfect way to wrap up. I shouldn't say washed their hands of like punks or Meebits or whatever, because I don't think that's the case. Like, they're still participating alongside Node Foundation to make sure that things are. I'm not sure what the actual word is, right? But like things are going smoothly there, or whatever. But as far as creation goes, this was a very handy wrap up art blocks curated. Participate for Snowfro, who did such an excellent job in being an ambassador for punks and generative art in the first place. Could this be like a last collection hurrah, which gets an additional premium probably if this is their final thing?
Very interesting. Could be. I would not bet on this being their final project versus the field, but it could be. Would be a fitting way. We know this is the end of Art Blocks Curated. Also the end for Matt and John, their creative outputs. I feel like there has to be some pressure on an artist to have this like open door where folks are still perhaps anticipating more work to come from you. And I could see it being somewhat of a relief to just close the chapter, say, we are done. We're stepping away from this. You can always open the door in the future, right? But I could see that being a pretty cathartic event for them as well. So non-zero. I'd probably put it at 20-25%. We will certainly see. Maybe we'll get a prediction market. Will this be Matt and John's final?
It might be. We'd have to leave it open forever.
That's the problem. We Limitless runs markets that end within 1 hour, as I understand it.
Yeah.
That's something else in the spectrum. We're at the end of the show. We've covered a lot here today. Let's give away some money. Producer Charlie, we're going to spin the wheel. This is your last chance to get the Yeet code for today in. I believe it's number go up. Number go up. While we wait for that, I'm being told by Gary Sr. that at 15 to 20, I might potentially be on crack. Thank you for that, Gary Sr. Probably a long shot to go to 15-20, but I think it's I'd probably put it at 30%, maybe 30 to 50%.
It's in the range of outcomes.
Definitely in the range of outcomes. All right, we've got the wheel up. Again, this is no Yeet action. This is just 2 straight $500 winners. Let's see who we got. One, staring at the sun. All that time staring at the sun has paid off for you. $500. What a win. Very nice. Staring at the sun. Congrats. We've got one more spin to go. Let's do it, Joe. Another music came from 4K3 Music. 4K3 Music. You have won. All right. Staring at the sun's in the chat. Congrats. You have won 4K3 Music. Congrats to you as well.
There's a chance 4K won the other day.
Okay.
So let's respin. And if they didn't, 4K. Do you want me to check real quick? Let's check real quick.
Yeah, let's just check. We've got a couple minutes here.
Cool.
Oh, they are live. So at least
Are they in the chat?
It was not a requirement to be live today, but oh yeah, it was because they had entered the code. Yeah, so 4K3, congrats. We are checking. He says I won minutes. So that would be different.
If you won minutes, you can still win this. Let me just double check.
Can I just say staring at the sun is a good username?
It really is.
Yeah, they won minutes. Congratulations.
Right. Your lucky week. 4K3 Music, congrats. So the team will coordinate with you offline. Everyone, all of our listeners, thank you for tuning in this week. It was a smaller show, just me and Logan, but we had some fun with it. Next week, the gang will be back, expecting Mando and Farouk back on Monday. Logan, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
It's been fun catching up this week. Good shows. Go Cubbies. Go
Cubs.
And listeners, until Monday, go have a beautiful day and a beautiful weekend. Goodbye.